Welcome. We are live and in action. My name is Alicia Newell, and I serve as the Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs here at Wichita State University. I am a proud alum of the university and have been in with the university for almost 20 years, which means I bleed officially black and yellow. And my goal in hosting this program with my colleague Kim Sandlin is really to make sure that we are able to meet our parents where they're at and help to get them to where they need by inviting and bringing our experts on campus to your living room to help ease the anxiety and anxiousness that sending our students off to college brings. And so there's a lot of information that we'll be sharing throughout the summer, especially when you come for new student orientation. And I never want our parents to feel like there is so much information that they get lost and overwhelmed. And so through our parent family table talks, this is where we're able down and really help our families understand the important content of information that is needed in time, in moment, and we'll keep changing those topics throughout the summer. And so with me is my colleague, Kim Sandlin, who's going to talk about today's topic, which is what to expect during new student orientation. Is this something that you as a parent have to attend? What can your students expect? And so I'm going to turn it over to Kim to share, to one, introduce herself, and then two, to share some more information with you on what you can expect. Kim?
Good evening, everyone. Hello, my name is Kim Sandlin. I serve as the Director in Student Success. I've been on campus for 25 years, so I'm a little older than Alicia. But she's definitely wiser than I think. We're actually here doing our own technology tonight. So if we have a little bump in the road, then we have a bump in the road. But you know what? That's life, and that's life in the virtual world. So Alicia is running the background technology as well as presenting. So she's doing double duty tonight. So it's great to be here with you all. I am also a proud alumna of the university. Had an incredible experience here. Went to grad school, came back and worked, and have been here. I've been working here ever since I got out of grad school. So I've been with orientation, either directly responsible or indirectly responsible for that program for over 20 years of the 25 that I've been here. So we've seen lots of iterations of this program. And we've seen the needs of students change over time. Students are very different today than they were when I was here as an undergraduate student and when Alicia was here as an undergraduate. Even, our students are different now than they were even 2 years ago. So it's interesting to hear commencement speeches. That's one of the things that Alicia and I do together as well. We are with students when they're graduating in the gym. And so we see the bookends of the student experience here on campus. We bring them in, new families, new students. We help them and support them throughout their journey here. And then we help them at graduation be ready to walk across that stage and know which side of the hat the tassel goes on and all of those kinds of last minute things. We get to celebrate with them as they graduate. So in student success, one of the functional areas that we have under our umbrella is our first year programs area. And that includes orientation and the transition of new students from high school or the workforce or another institution onto campus here at Wichita State. And, just as our students change over time, the student populations we serve change over time as well. So we have a very diverse population here. But my main focus tonight is to talk about the orientation program and the transition program, really, of our students coming directly out of high school. So I'm going to jump right in to that information. If you have any questions that I can answer, please put them in the chat, and Alicia, my friend, will either stop me, interrupt me, or type over in our little private chat here what those questions are so I can answer those live. So our students coming straight out of high school, the process for orientation and enrollment and their transition actually started back in March when we went live with the orientation RSVP. That really kicks off a student's transition experience. Sign up for orientation, you fill out all those questions about the kinds of classes you prefer, the classes that you took in high school, what time of day is most, you're looking to, you want your classes scheduled for, the kinds of things that you're interested in doing while you're on campus. And that information gets sent over to our first year advisors who are out of the one-stop area. And they begin to build your schedule for you, for the student, and they send it to the student for approval. Our next table talk in a couple of weeks is going to be all about that process. So if you have enrollment questions and advising questions, I can do my best to answer them. I am not an academic advisor, and so I can't answer specific questions, but I do work really closely with them. We work together very closely in terms of serving our new students. So that orientation RSVP, hopefully you have signed up. Your student has signed up for an orientation and you know which day they are attending. If you are coming with them, we hope you do. It's really a nice experience for both of you to have together, the parents, the supporters, the guests, and the students. It's really nice for them to be on campus at the same time. The program is not going to be the same. The agenda for those programs are different, and we'll get into those specifics here in a minute. But, we encourage our parents and supporters of our new Shockers to attend orientation. It is not required. So I want to be upfront with that. This is not a required program for you as a parent, a guest, or a supporter. It is required of your student. Okay, so we'll go over the transition process, what that whole process looks like here. But we're going to zone in on orientation and what happens during orientation. So whichever program date you have chosen, they're all the same agenda, just different days. If you have chosen a program early in the summer, that's great. If you've chosen a program later in the summer, that's great. It really doesn't matter when you come to the orientation program. We're flexible in that way. More and more campuses across the country are doing enrollment like we do. We've been doing enrollment this way for I guess this is our 10th year, doing enrollment the way we do it, which means that it's not a part of the orientation process. So on a lot of college campuses, they might have talked about you come to orientation and you enroll. That's not done here. That's a separate process. So you're not enrolling during orientation. So that then gives you the flexibility to attend a program that best fits your family's schedule. Another difference between last year and this year on our campus is that freshman orientation is just one day. We've taken some of the information we previously had throughout the program, and we have put them together in online modules that your student should be completing. Hopefully, they have been in Blackboard to see where those modules are. And if they have not, sorry, I'm getting a notice on my computer that it's going to restart. So hopefully it doesn't restart on us tonight. Yay. Okay. Let me get rid of this. Sorry, guys, on my screen. All right. Sorry about that. So we're down to a one-day program. We put some of that information online. And so in those modules, your students are going to learn about some financial aid updates, which we will have financial aid experts here for you a little bit later in the summer. I know the FAFSA has been really challenging as families coming into higher education across the country. Wichita State's not the only place that's struggling with this. Everyone going to college this year struggling with the FAFSA in this process. So we know it's been challenging. I think our financial aid office has done a phenomenal job in trying to reach out to students and trying to answer questions. And so we're not going to dive very deep into financial aid tonight, but that's been challenging for our students, right? So, and I lost my train of thought on FAFSA. Sorry, guys. Oh, tonight. It's so fun starting these the first night. Okay. Hi, Alicia. So did you want to stop me and interrupt me?
So one of the things that I did want to share regarding financial aid, because there has been this interruption with the new system that has been implemented on the federal level, is that in our next session, not next week, but I believe on June, whatever our next one, we will have financial aid come to that session, and they're going to do a brief update, just to say, hey, if you have experienced any of these messages or issues, that is going to be on Tuesday, June 11th at 6 p.m. We're going to have them just give a brief update about some of the challenges within the FAFSA in case your FAFSA did not go all the way through. And so you can have time to triage and troubleshoot that before their session, which is on July 16th. And that's where they're going to give more in-depth about this is how you can go in and find your financial aid packet, how much has been awarded and applied regarding student federal financial aid, scholarships, award letters, how to set up those payment plans and read and view bills. All of that will come at a much later time, because bills and all of that will not be placed on student accounts until July. And so if Kim and I were to start talking about that right now, as a parent myself, I have to visually see what that looks like to really understand it, what that process is. And so looking at it from the parent perspective, we really want our staff to be able to walk you through, like, in time, to be able to best support you and your students with that process. And so I know sometimes families are like, well, I need to know this now because I need to have a plan. And the only thing that I can share is really trust the process and trust the guidance that we're giving through this process, because it really is an in time manner in which we can share information, but it may be frustrating because we may not have all of the information to share at that time because we ourselves are not privy to it yet. And so there's still decisions to be made about, fees or what have you. And so that's kind of the why behind we schedule some of those later, which I know is frustrating. But really, when we're able to do it that way, it makes a lot of sense in helping parents pull up their accounts while we're doing that and kind of walk through that session with us to be able to read their bill and view and ask questions as they're able to have that full access at that time.
Yeah. So I thank you for popping in, Alicia. I remembered why I brought up financial aid in the first place. So financial aid is one of the topics in the pre-orientation modules that we have students complete prior to coming to orientation. So circling back to pre-orientation modules, once your student RSVP'd for orientation, in their confirmation, if you're ever needing to get back to the confirmation information, you can just go back to our website, which is wichita.edu/orientation, and it will pop you back. You'll kind of act like you're going to sign up for orientation again, but it will pop you back into your confirmation screen that will give you all of the information about the date that you signed up for and when it starts and where to go and those kinds of things. So, and in that, at the bottom of that, we'll tell you kind of what your next steps are. And so May 1st, we went live with our pre-orientation modules. And so that does contain information, just a little bit about advising, financial aid information, general information there. Our success coaches introduce themselves. I think there's some other things on health and wellness. There's an optional module on Shocker Strengths. We're a strengths-based campus. And so if you're really wanting to dive into the student experience and experience it to the fullest, that's something I would encourage you to do. That piece is the only optional piece to those pre-orientation modules. So usually the question I get from students is, where do I find the modules? And so I emailed out an announcement of everybody who is in that course. And so if you open up your Shocker email account, which is something you will hear all summer long, that is probably one of the most important things for a student to be successful, is to really keep up on their emails. If your student, not you, but your student is not in the habit of checking their emails, that's going to be a problem for them later down the road. So it's good for them to get into that habit now because they already have emails coming to them, one of which is probably from me, announcing that Blackboard class has been opened for them in their Blackboard. There's a little button that says view announcement. You click that button, you sign in, and away you go. So once students successfully complete those, then they're good to go. That is part of the requirement of orientation. So you need to understand that those pre-orientation modules are required. They take roughly, I would say, 30 minutes to get through. And there are knowledge checks along the way that your student will need to complete and say, yes, I understand this. Yes, I've reviewed this material. Yes, I know this, these kinds of things. So that's what we ask them to do that before they get to orientation. So then they attend and you can do those at any point in time. If your student isn't coming to orientation until July or August, that's okay. They can hop on now and get that orientation module complete, those modules complete. So then they come to orientation. Hopefully you're coming with them. And it's an experience on campus that we're really trying to focus more on interactions, building community. That's sometimes hard for our students who started their high school career, online when the world shut down for a little while. Now they're kind of coming out of that a little bit more into this hybrid learning space. And so that's the type of experience that we're trying to create for them. But it's very hard for a lot of our students and students nationwide, not unique to our campus, really nationwide, particularly those coming out of high school. It's very difficult for them to make connections in person and to look people in the eyes and to have a conversation without a phone or without some piece of technology with them. And so, that's one of our focuses for those programs. And so we'll take them through all kinds of activities. They'll have activities with presenters, they'll have activities with other student leaders, and we'll probably have a really good time. They're going to learn a lot. They're going to meet a lot of people, and they're going to learn about how to be the best student that they can be and be as successful as they can be. So that's what they're going to be doing throughout their day. Now, as a parent, you're going to come in. You will check in with them. Actually, we have several lines for y'all. There is a fee for each guest that does attend, because there are things that we have to pay for all of you. So there is a fee. It is $30 per guest, but you are only charged for those guests who attend. So I know in the orientation RSVP, when your students signed up, they might say, I have one guest, but maybe 4 come. That's perfectly fine. All of those guests are welcome. But what I want you all to understand is that every guest will be charged $30 for that program. Okay. You don't have to pay at the program. You don't have to pay before the program. All of those fees would be placed then on your students' fall tuition and fee bill. Okay. So that's an important piece to know. So we don't take we don't take cash. We don't take any payments at the program on site. We're not set up to do that. We don't do that. We're going to place that on your students' tuition and fee bill. And so if your student has financial aid to pay for some of that and to cover some of those costs, that's great. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It's very individual per student. Okay. So then you all check in. And then we're going to have an information fair right off the bat. Tons of offices, tons of organizations there to talk about the things that they have to offer your student, and you can go through that with your student. Then you have the option to go upstairs to hear from Alicia, who I highly, highly recommend tearing yourself away from your student and going to her session. At 8:30 in the morning. I know that's early, but she does a phenomenal session with parents. And then we'll come together for the joined welcome in the ballroom. Then we go about our program. Your agenda will be separate from your student, but you will come back together at lunch and have that time together to kind of talk about, hey, what'd you learn? What I learned? Or maybe you all make friends and you tell your students, hey, I have new friends and I'm going to go sit with these parents over here. You go sit with some of the friends that you made. We have families that do that. We also have families that get back together and have lunch together as kind of just a check-in. Sometimes it gets overwhelming for both parents and students. And so it's kind of nice to have that check-in time. Then after lunch, as parents, you have the opportunity to choose 2 out of, it looks like 4 sessions on the agenda. So you can kind of pick and choose what information you want to hear about. That might be, we have student involvement, we have Shocker Career Accelerator, student testing and accommodations, and then also academic support. So that talks about our success teams, our success coaches, our tutoring programs, etc. So you can pick and choose those sessions that you want to attend and get a little bit of a personalized experience there. And then you'll end up again with a few sessions together, all parents together at the end of the day. At the end of orientation, the end of that afternoon, Alicia and I come back together with you at the end of that program to really wrap it up, to answer any questions that came up during the day that maybe you didn't get answered or you thought we would cover and we didn't cover, or something like that, whatever that may be. We can talk about how to get signed up for newsletters and get information. We'll talk about emergency services. We'll talk about academics. We'll talk about communication and how that changes and why it's so, so important that your student is responding to messages that they are receiving from the university. Cannot underscore that enough. Again, checking the email and making that a student's responsibility. So we talk through all of those kinds of things, what to expect, what happens if there's an emergency. We kind of wrap that all up at the end of the program. Then we do have optional tours at the end of the day. If you and your student are interested in that, if you want to see housing, typically it will not be the room that your student is assigned to. So that is not possible, but it usually is hopefully the type of room perhaps that they have been contracted for. So those are the main 3 things I wanted to talk about. Another just kind of transition process that I want to talk you all through. So we've done the online modules, we've come to orientation, and this occurs, over the course of the summer. What we know is that students don't remember a lot from orientation. Parents remember more. Students don't remember much. And so we need to be providing an opportunity right before the semester starts for students to kind of get a refresh, get a reset, build their confidence as they're walking into classes the first day. So we do that through a couple of programs. We have our Shocker preseason programs, and those are for specific student populations, perhaps in a certain major. Some of our engineering students, some of our nursing students. Trying to think of the other academic ones. We have a math launch program that we're doing, and so we have different programs for students interested in different things or with different interests or majors that happen. That runs August 5th through 15th. Then the 16th, 17th, and 18th, the 3 days prior to classes starting on that Monday, is a new collection of programs that we're calling Shock Fest. And that is really where students will come back together These are large scale programs. We're trying to have, different affinity spaces, different meals together, different social activities, different academic activities, different ways where your student can connect, get all those questions answered, really get wrap their heads around. I'm starting college on Monday. And so I should probably know where I'm going to park or where I'm going to go, where my classes are, right? So we have a classroom crawl and we have some different things that we do. We can walk your students through their schedule and help them feel, again, more comfortable. So that is a change, something that we are adding to this transition experience. And the last thing I'll add in here before Alicia jumps back in is back in Blackboard, we're going to put all of the information from orientation. We're going to put a lot of extra information in Blackboard where your students are going to spend a lot of their time. That's our learning management system, which is our online service that supports the in-class learning. If your students have online classes, they're in Blackboard. If your students have hybrid classes, when they're not in class, they're in Blackboard. And so we're going to put that information where your students are spending a lot of their time. That won't open up for students until later in the summer, and they won't have access to that until after they attend orientation. So that wraps up kind of the other transition parts that happen at the later end of the summer. But I will stop because I've just been talking for a very long time here. So Alicia, are there things that I've missed? Can I elaborate? What's going on?
Yeah, so I put in the chat box the link. And so if you want to see a comprehensive list of all of our preseason activities, I do encourage you to go to wichita.edu/preseason. If you click on the link in the chat box there, that will take you directly to all of our programs that we have this summer. Some are getting close to being full, others are just opening up. And so I really encourage you to see what is the best fit for your student and have that conversation with them of, is this something you want to participate in? And I share that because we have students who are on both sides of I would say kind of like the aisle, those that are really eager and excited and want to be engaged, and others who my mom told me I had to do this. And then they're not really maximizing the opportunity. But one thing that I can share regarding our preseason programs is students who get connected early on have a significant higher chance of creating that sense of community and support on campus, as well as being able to just connect with peers and have a better sense of belonging. And really, that when students have a sense of belonging, they're not going home every weekend. They found their tribe and they're able to really kind of navigate and advocate that first semester of college with those that they went through that program with. And so we have some phenomenal programs. I really encourage you all to check them out. And if you have questions regarding any of them, feel free to hit myself up, email myself or Kim Sandlin. Our information will be put up here briefly because we want to make sure that students are really able to maximize those opportunities. They do allow students, they are moving in a little earlier this year. And so it's an opportunity for them to also get settled in, make connections, and again, just kind of have that navigation and anxiety of getting used to where things are at with other students who are exactly feeling how they're feeling of like, whoa, we have students who come from Western Kansas, and this is a huge culture change. It is a large city, large campus. And so helping them to navigate and help them feel like this is more home, and doing that with a smaller amount of students on campus before everybody comes back in that following week. And so it's really a great opportunity. The other thing that Kim had talked about was the parent family sessions that she and I will co-lead together during orientation. And one of the things I want to share is that Wichita State, we are very proud to be a first generation institution, which means that half of our student population They identify as first generation, which neither parent had graduated from a four-year university. And I share that because it's important to keep at the forefront why we do what we do and making sure that we are connecting with our families and helping them help their students navigate the process. As a first gen student myself, having this information at a critical point in time would have been very beneficial for me and my family. And regardless if your student is first generation or not, I'm going through this process with my own daughter right now, as Kim is. And it's very different from when we went through that process, right, Kim, as students. And so it's nice just to have those additional reminders and either affirmations or confirmations like, yes, I'm on the right track, I'm doing the right thing, or whoa, I'm way off, I'm way off the charts that I need help.
Yeah.
But if you're not able to attend the orientation sessions, I do encourage you to stay connected in our parent family newsletter. And so if you go to parent family, wichita.edu/family, Shocker Family, you can sign up for our parent family newsletter that we'll send out once a month. And we will have deadlines, tips, conversation starters, and there are things that your student should be doing and advice on, hey, it's time for registration, or hey, it's midterms time. Check on your students' grades. What does that look like? How do you find them? Where do you get that information if they don't give you access? And so we give you a lot of what I call mom advice from one parent to another on this is how we can help each other, help our students navigate the process. Kim, what were you going to say?
Yeah. We mentioned how long we've been working on campus, and it's like, yeah, I've heard financial aid for 20 years, give presentations and all that. And I was a first generation student as well. But I'm like, oh God, I got to pay attention this time. Like it's going to be my kid. Right. So, it's, we have juniors. I have a junior in the Wichita School District. And so it's been interesting to see what I know is the experience that a quality program and institution will give students, and then what information they're getting in high school. And sometimes if your student is like my son, who tells me the minimum and has one word answers, and, goes right down to his room to talk with his friends, online or whatever it is that he's doing down there. I'm trusting he's using his time wisely. But it's just interesting coming through this process as a parent, through the search process, and then also through the transition process. And so one of the things that I would tell you all who are joining us tonight, Alicia and I aren't going to sugarcoat things. It's not always going to be rainbows and unicorns and 4.0 GPAs. Your students are going to be challenged in college. They should be challenged. If they're not challenged, we're not doing our job. And that means academically, that means socially, that means in all kinds of ways. And so I don't want, you all to think of this is going to be a real super easy road, and you're going to join all of these table talks throughout the entire summer, and you're going to come to orientation and it's going to be easy breezy. For some of you, it will be. And that's awesome. And we hope that's a majority of you, right? For some of you, your students are going to struggle a little bit. And sometimes your students may not be used to any struggle. I'm sure I'll talk about this at orientation, but my kids don't have homework. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't have homework? And they're like, no, I don't, got it done in class. I'm like, what do you mean you got it done in class? Because when we went to school, we had homework and we had to study at home. It was work you did at home. And this is a foreign concept to our students, or at least mine anyway. And that's great that they can get it done at school. And I appreciate the school values the time that they have with their family to be with their family. However, sometimes that is a shock to our students. And just, adulting or studenting or whatever you want to call it, is really interesting. And our students have sometimes a really tough time making that transition. And so that's why we put these programs together, is to kind of support you all, to support your students. We really do see families and parents as partners in this experience. You can help us, we can help you. If we work together, we'll help your students be as successful as possible. And so we're hopeful that throughout orientation, throughout the summer, you get some valuable information, because it's overwhelming. And we're not, Alicia and I are getting ready to go into our senior year with our kids next year. And we're like, oh my gosh, I'm already looking at checklists and deadlines and all of this. So I feel your pain. You're on the other end of it. I'm starting it. You're getting ready to finish it. And so if we can just help each other out, I think we can help our students be a little bit more successful in terms of conversations we need to have with them, experiences we need to be providing them, and then the support that and acknowledgement that you may or may not know how to support them anymore. And that's okay. That's all right, because they're going to be doing things that they've never done before. And that's okay. That's all right. There's a lot of, built-in nets that kind of catch them if they fall through, I don't want to say fall from glory, because they're not going to fall from glory. But if they fall along the way, we'll be there to help pick them up and dust them off and get them going again. So, I guess that's what I would leave you all with. Alicia, are there any? I didn't see any other questions in the chat tonight.
Nope.
We must have
Nope.
been thorough, I guess.
I just wanted to provide an opportunity that if there are any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Any question at all, we're here to help answer any questions that you may have. But also want to encourage you that if you've not already done so, go to the orientation web at edu/orientation. Kim's staff has done a phenomenal job to provide a really detailed schedule outline online that you can see what your student will be doing throughout the day. In addition, what the parent track looks like and opportunities for you to engage with folks on campus as well. And then that way you'll be able to really have a better sense of, do I need to be gone from work all day, or can I go for a half day? But there is, I would say in my 20 years being here at Wichita State that we do see a significant difference in students whose parents show up. And when I say show up, it doesn't mean that you're attending every event with them, but you're staying in the know of understanding and seeking information to better help your student in the process. And so for those that have joined us this evening, I want to thank you, because this is that you are committed to your student success. And that will bleed over into everything that they do within this next academic year. And so just want to say thank you for participating in this session. We have numerous sessions scheduled throughout the summer. So the next one is your Shockers first year experience, and that's with their academic advisor, as well as a faculty. And so by now your students should have received their schedule of courses. And if you're like, whoa, there's we have an issue with classes, or we have they're in this, but they got AP scores, but maybe we've not received those AP scores yet, and you have a question with advising, that is a great time to check in to see how you can get your student schedule updated. Those students who will be joining the Honors College, we have a session that will talk specifically about what does that honors experience look like, at which we have a phenomenal honors program. And so I'm excited for you all to connect with them to see what opportunities. Student health is probably, I would say probably student health and your Shocker finances are probably our most attended sessions, because as we know, mental health within education, higher education across the board has increased significantly. And so whether that is your students' physical or emotional mental health and well-being, if it is, how do I saw in one of our group, our online chats, a parent said, my student has this an issue with, I think it was asthma, and we're looking for a provider within the community, who could you recommend? Those are things that we can actually do on campus within our student health department. And so it's being able to connect and see what we can take on campus, and whether that is following up on medication, med management, mental health counseling. But there is a lot of resources, especially if you're looking at needing to continue long-term care or sustainable care with your student. How and when do you need to have those records sent to the university so we can get them to the correct departments as they prepare to continue care with your student? And so a lot of different things that we have planned. If there's something that maybe you have a question on that we don't have a topic, feel free to reach out to me personally. I am more than happy to connect and answer any questions that you may have. You can call me, email me is really the best bet. And that way we can get back with you as soon as possible. But I don't have anything else left to share. We are so excited to have you on campus this summer. I think between Kim and I, orientation and graduation are like our favorite events, and we are the two probably craziest people on campus that willingly volunteer for both, because it brings so much excitement and joy to our campus, being able to welcome not only our students but our families, and sharing in that first moment of receiving you on campus, but then also seeing you at the very end of that journey and wishing you the best of luck. And so on behalf of our family, we welcome you to Shocker Nation and look forward to seeing you on campus this summer. Have a great one. Bye.